I've always been very, very much into music. I think my love and desire for music has not gone up or down since I was, a toddler. When I was younger, I didn't have a lot of money to purchase music. So what I would do is I would borrow a lot of tapes from friends and record them on those little cheap, Kmart 99-cent blank tapes. And then I would give my dad the inserts, and he would take them to work and photocopy them for me. And so then he would bring them home, and I would cut out, the insert, and I would have a little black and white insert with a little recorded tape. I didn't really get into the tangible collecting of music until CDs were really kind of the big thing and really mainstream. And then one day a friend told me about this independent record store that sold used CDs. So I'm like, great, I'm gonna go down there and check out those. And so I went down there, and of course they had vinyl. And by the second or third time I went in there, that vinyl just kept catching my eye, because it's just there. And the third time I went in there, I'll never forget, I bought a Slaughter Stick It To You CD, and I just said, I'm just going to go browse with the vinyl this time. And I saw the dollar bin, started digging through it. I ended up buying 7 or 8 records that day, even though I wouldn't have a turntable for another year and a half. In some way, I kind of look at that as being the small event that started my vinyl collecting. The bug bit me that day because I was so driven to go purchase that many records, even though I didn't even have a turntable. That was the day the madness started. I've been collecting now since about 2006. I've been going crazy ever since. So really not that long. I know a lot of people have been collecting since childhood and have records that were passed down to them from their parents and stuff like that, which would have been cool. I really wish I would have started earlier. But yeah, just since 2006, so only about 6 years now. I think at this point I have 4,243 records, plus the 70 or 80 or so that I have in my need to listen to and need to file away and put in my database. Kind of newer stuff that's come in that hasn't been processed yet, if you will. I truly do collect everything. The only thing I will ever shy away from is when stuff is a little overly satanic, if you will. And Lord knows I'm a huge metal fan, and I have no problem with dark stuff, but when stuff is overly satanic, I tend to avoid that. When it comes to buying vinyl and just buying music in general, you give me one or two things and I have to have it. And that is, you give me a melody I want to hear again, or you make me feel an emotion I want to feel again. Anything that does one of those two things, I want it in my collection. And I have yet to stumble across a genre that has not produced one of those things for me. So yeah, I truly collect everything across the board. Electronic music, easy listening, jazz, polka, world music, metal, grindcore, pop, just everything across the board. My family and friends are extremely supportive and positive towards my collecting. And I think there's a couple of reasons for that. I think one of the main reasons is most of them clearly see how much of a passion it is for me, and they see all the positive energy and emotions and just all the positive things that it brings out of me. And I guess anytime you're talking about a family or friend, it's always going to make you feel good to see them dwelling in their passions, because it's always a positive thing. Second thing that has really made my family and friends be very open and positive towards my collection is the way that my collection is arranged. I think that definitely plays a very, very key role in that, in the positive feedback I get about it a lot of times. Where I'm coming from with that is when people come in and see my collection for the first time, it's always like a wow type thing. And one of the first things that I believe pretty much everyone has said is, it looks like a record store, which is exactly what I'm trying to do actually, because that's what I like myself. But I think that contributes to my family and friends being very positive towards my collection, because when they walk in the door, they don't see a huge stack of records over in the corner and a big stack of papers over here, and some records have fallen down, and all that stuff, which to me can sometimes give the impression of a hoarding in the making, type of unorganized and just a lot of stuff thrown type thing. But when they come in and see my collection, they really do feel like it's like a music store. And the first thing they do, they start browsing just like they're in a music store. They start flipping through things, flipping through my CDs, my records, and they start going into the, oh my gosh, I haven't heard this since forever. Oh my gosh, I haven't, and they start doing all that reflecting and everything because they're seeing all this music that they haven't, thought about or heard in quite some time. And I think anytime that is the first impression and interaction that someone has with your collection, especially when you start having, bigger collections of things, that's going to automatically put this kind of positive seed with them about your vinyl collection or your music collection. I think my obsessive organization with my collection has also played a big role in my family and friends being just very, very open and supportive with my collecting. I also see that a lot too when it comes to any type of birthday, Christmas, or any type of gift that I get. Everyone always defaults to records and music every single time, and they all complain about the same thing. I really wanted to get you something, I didn't know quite what to get. Could you send me a list? And so I think just the fact that that's what they think about. They think about contributing to the collection. They think about, that's what's going to make him happy, so I want to go do that for him. I would think that if it was a negative thing to them, that wouldn't be what they default to when they start thinking about, buying me gifts and stuff like that. And I absolutely love it. I could care less if I got any other type of gift for the rest of my life. You give me a record I really want or a gift certificate to a record store, I'm a happy man. When I was, right before I moved here, I was on Craigslist actually, and I was looking for records, and a guy posted an ad. He said like 1,000 records or 1,500 records, $500, you can take all of them, and he had just put up the ad that day. And I was like, so no one's dug through this yet or whatever? I was like, I'm there. I took the afternoon off work and drove about an hour to this guy's place. The story was his brother, he had died a couple years ago, and he had been collecting music all his life. And so his brother was just trying to, clean out his house and get rid of all this stuff. So they had brought all the records from his house over to their house, had it set up in the garage. And he opens the door, and it's just like all these crates of music, and I'm just, records. I'm just sitting there going like, hallelujah, type of thing. And the guy's like, yeah, I'm just going to go inside and take care of a few things. So just, come give me a knock and let me know if you want to. I was like, okay. So I'm just sitting there digging. I mean, great stuff too. The guy had been collecting since the 60s. Great Beatles stuff, a lot of Dylan, Zeppelin, Hendrix, Springsteen. Just a very, very good hard rock collection. A few hundred of the albums were sealed. I mean, like sealed copies of Highway Revisited and all that type of stuff. And I'm sitting there just kind of doing an initial flip going, whoa, And my first thought was, I'm going to give this guy $500 for his collection. I'm going to take it home and take out all the stuff I want and sell the rest and get my money back plus some. And then I started getting deeper into it and actually started pulling stuff out as opposed to just checking out titles. And sure enough, on the majority of the records, about the bottom 3 inches or so, destroyed. Mold, water damage, all that stuff. And come to find out later, his brother had passed away about 2 years prior, and they had kind of taken their time in cleaning out his house and everything. Well, the records were down in the basement, and the whole water thing. It was so sad, and there were so many pieces like that. I didn't even tell him or what some of that stuff would have been worth if it was in good condition. I figured, why make him feel bad? I guess there might have been a few boxes that weren't on the floor because I ended up picking out maybe 15 or 20 pieces that were pretty darn nice. One of which was a sealed copy of Blonde on Blonde, an original pressing, and that one didn't get damaged, so I bought that one, and I kept that one sealed, and a few other nice pieces too. But his brother had such a nice collection, and they let it go. That dreaded basement story. Make your collection your collection. I mean, I understand, someone, especially like maybe a novice or new collector, looking at my collection and going, or asking questions, what should I get, and so forth. Usually if I get a message like that, or I'm talking to someone, one of the first questions I ask them when they say, should I get this album from my collection? I'll ask them, well, are you asking me because you're curious if it's a good album or not? Or if it's a record you should have in your record collection? Because if you're asking me the first, yeah, I'll be happy to, tell you what I think, if it's a good album, bad album, or whatever kind of review. But if you're asking me just for the sake of saying, should you buy it just to have it in your collection? That's not the way to go. Make your collection about you, about your taste, your likes, the things that you want your collection to represent about you. That's what you should have in there. Don't go out and buy stuff just because someone else has it. That's just not what it's all about. Make your collection about you. Make your collection where if a stranger that never met you just walked into your house when you weren't home and thumbed through your collection, they could get a very good idea of the type of person that you are. That's how true it should be to yourself. The best way that I've found to share that with someone who doesn't collect, maybe even isn't that into music, obviously another collector will understand, but for someone who just has no clue, no vinyl, no anything, I'll say, well, it's because that's how deep my love is for music. I'll say, do you love your spouse or significant other, family member, whatever the case may be? And most people, they have a significant other, so they'll say, yes, I love my boyfriend and girlfriend. Like, okay, well, how did you grow to love them? And how do you continue to love them? It's like you do so by interacting with them. All your experiences with them, talking with them, communicating with them, hearing them, seeing them, thinking about how beautiful or handsome they are, being attracted to them, physically touching them, holding them, holding hands, hugging, all of that. Their smell, you get a whiff of their cologne or a whiff of their perfume or a shirt they wore the day before, and it's just like, that's them. As soon as you smell it, that's them. And so it's like you use all your senses to take in this person, and through the course of interacting and constantly using your senses, you grow closer to them, and you develop that love for them and everything else. And so then my question is, now if someone told you you had to take away one of those senses in experiencing this person you care about, which one are you actually willing to give up? Are you willing to hear them, smell them, talk to them, but never see them again? Take away your sight. You'll never be able to lay eyes on your significant other again. And most people say, no, there's no way. That would be horrible. It's like, okay, I understand that. Would you be willing to see them, smell them, feel them, but never hear them again? Never be able to hear their voice again? And again, it'd be horrible. So when you really kind of get down to it, it's like when there's something you love that much, you want to experience it to the fullest with all of your senses. And music is the same way when it comes to vinyl. Vinyl is the one media that incorporates the most that you can incorporate with all your senses in music. So that's why I collect vinyl. My love for music is so deep, and my love for music is so strong. I'm not willing to sacrifice my vision. I'm not willing to go to a MP3 or CD. I'm not willing to sacrifice the visual part. Sound wise, yes, it sounds better to me as well, so I'm not willing to sacrifice the hearing. Getting an MP3, I'm not willing to sacrifice touching the vinyl, the covers, the gatefolds, all the inserts and the little goodies and stuff inside. I'm not willing to sacrifice that touch. Even the smell, when you get down to it, you buy used albums, new albums, every time you open one up, they all smell different. There really is an element to it. So that is one of the reasons why I collect vinyl, is I'm not willing to sacrifice any of my senses in experiencing something that I love to the degree that I love music.